When a precious resource is discovered in a depleted society, humans are naturally attracted to its prominence and opportunity. In early 1848, following the end of the Mexican-American War, gold nuggets were found in the Sacramento Valley, which fueled the occurrence of the California Gold Rush. Not only were around $2 billion worth of precious metal extracted from these events, but the non-native population of California significantly grew 100 times from what it originally was to approximately 100,000 citizens. Despite the economic influences of the gold, there were also certain legal issues the state was dealing with, such as developing a new constitution to declare being part of the Union, and situations with vigilantes self-governing the society. At the time of the gold rush, California was a free state that did not possess a constitution. In February 1847, the California Star, a San Francisco newspaper, organized a constitutional convention to develop a state constitution that would lead up to statehood. At the time, California was poorly governed mainly because it belonged to a military district. The issue of slavery was still prominent, as well as there were congressmen who believed that California was important to a compromise over slavery. The idea of statehood was supported in the area as Walter Colton was elected and advocated for this cause. The Monterey Constitutional Convention was held in Monterey, California, at the Colton Hall on September 1, 1849. At the convention, the Bill of Rights was developed, which established the types of governmental systems where slavery was outlawed and allowed every white male citizen to vote. Laws were to be written in English and Spanish due to the large demographic of Mexican individuals living in the state. This convention produced a mild form of guidelines which led up to it being rewritten in 1878. Nonetheless, the delegates who met at the Colton Hall created a form of government which secured California's admission into the Union the following year as part of a compromise to avoid civil war. Throughout the constitutional process, there were debates revolving around issues of slavery, state boundaries, and territorial guidelines. One question asked was whether California should apply for immediate statehood or not. There was still a significant portion of Americans who believed that territorial government had more advantage compared to statehood, since federal money could be utilized to fund California. Furthermore, the issue of slavery continued to plague the nation, as there were concerns on if California should apply for a statehood as a free state. Despite the 50 members present at the convention that migrated from the South, the majority of the delegates were against slavery and acknowledged that allowing it would be a potential obstacle to admission into the Union. There were also concerns about where state boundaries should be located, as it was dependent on the bordering areas. Oregon and Mexico had already provided the northern and southern boundaries, which meant that the eastern border was at stake here. The President and Congress recognized that statehood might be threatened with a heavy proposal, meaning they immediately voted for the Sierra boundary. Due to the sudden influx of individuals in the state of California, this increased the risk of crime and illegal activity, since everyone was on the search for valuable minerals. In particular, there are more murderers, swindlers, thieves, and politicians. As a result of these disturbances, the San Francisco merchants established a Committee of Vigilance in 1851. The 700-member group created bylaws while meeting in secret and declared that the San Francisco government was incapable of protecting the life and property of the city's citizens. This group accused Australian immigrants for being accountable for San Francisco's crime, upon which they prohibited them from settling in the city. Their actions were carried out efficiently as they hung 4 men accused of murder. Thanks to their urgent action on these problems, word spread fast throughout the state, and the crime rates decreased significantly. The Committee of Vigilance's success in 1851 made them heroes throughout the West, spawning vigilante groups in numerous other locations. The operation was finished, and the group was formally disbanded by the end of 1852, and law enforcement returned to the elected authorities. Not only were there California vigilantes in 1851, but there was also a group that developed later on in 1856. By that time, San Francisco was entirely under the control of its famous Vigilance Committee, a determined band of citizens that held the city under its firm rule. During this period of reign, the conditions of the city's outgrowth had caused widespread municipal corruption by a gang of political plunderers. There were several political issues that plagued society, which included control of the political machine, stuffing ballot boxes, bribing voters, intimidating those who couldn't be paid off, and electing their own judges. On May 14, 1856, James King was murdered by James Casey, who was a ballot box stuffer. This caused for there to be a need for a reassuring force in the community, as Delegate William T. Coleman, who belonged to the Vigilance Committee of 1851, was asked to form another group to combat with the politicians. Charles Doane, an experienced soldier, was given charge of the military details and soon took over a commercial warehouse, which he converted as an armory and drill hall. Later, the group publicly hung James Casey, the man responsible for the death of James King and Charles Cora. The increase in the vigilantes' relevance caused the politicians to fear their efforts as they went to Governor J. Neely Johnson, who failed to intervene. The group's dominance was further established while they made efforts to purify the government by exiling politicians, criminals, and taking the reins of the government. By the time the corruption had been suppressed to a large extent, the group disbanded once again, leaving the city in a more refined state than previous. Certain events can lead to favorable or unfavorable outcomes when it comes to monetary value. The California Gold Rush is an example of an event that brought prosperity to the land but connected to certain legal issues that are prominent during the time of the 1850s. California was applying for statehood while creating new laws at the Monterey Constitutional Convention. Furthermore, there is the issue of criminal activity, which was resolved by various vigilante groups in 1851 and 1856. Due to the increase in population, there was economic benefit along with these disadvantages. Nonetheless, the state of California was able to resolve these conflicts through a collaborative action.